Hey, we're live. or should I say, boa noite?
Boa noite.
This could go downhill real fast with two Americans deciding to have a conversation in Portuguese. We'll have to try our Portuguese together later. Although I suspect yours is much better than mine. Alyssa, how long have you been here in Brazil? Tell everybody who you are, because you're pretty
awesome. God, it's so weird to be talking to you, watching myself on the screen at the same time. My name is Elisa Sanders. I live in Salvador, Bahia. I'm originally from Los Angeles, California, and I've been in Brazil for about the past 23 years, mostly.
23 years, and it's been straight in Brazil, or?
Well, it's been this has been home base for 23 years. I went back to the States from 2011 to 2012, but I'm still doing shows here. So I was going back and forth like every 6 weeks.
Right.
But yeah, I've been outside of that period. I've been mostly here. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Talking about doing shows, and you and I connected through, I think it was Black Expats in Brazil, the group on Facebook that I run, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Mm-hmm. Either that or through Phil Ray.
Or through who?
Through Philip Ray.
Phil might be it. Phil was just actually on the last show. He popped in.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Phil's an interesting cat. That's why I like him.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. So, but here's what I saw today. I saw you posted on your YouTube channel about a music series, and we ended up having a conversation about music in Brazil and Brazilian musical traditions. First thing I want to do is tell everybody this. Let me show everybody your your YouTube page, because I want everybody, if you want to go listen to some good music, go check her out. Go check out Alyssa Sanders. It's sad that she only has 7 subscribers, even though she's such an amazing singer with this long history and everybody loves her, but she's not a YouTube person, but I'm trying to get her to really spread her music, spread the love.
I got a great tutorial today. That was really good.
Well, here's something else. Hold on a second. You can also check her out. Where's your Instagram? I'm going to show everybody your Instagram, too.
Instagram, on Spotify, I'm on YouTube.
Let's see. Where did you?
You want me to send you my links?
Alyssa Sanders Music, right?
Alyssa Sanders Music.
Okay, let's see if I can. There you go. Ta-da! She's more of an Instagram person. But if we could get those people to come over to your YouTube channel, and you've got a lot of stuff.
See, there's a lot of stuff I've been doing.
Yeah, to go with your amazing voice.
A web series, a show I just did in São Paulo, Bourbon Street. That one down there with the colorful dress, some new recordings in São Paulo. Those are from like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, right.
I sang with the Terrence Becker Band. Yeah, I was in São Paulo 2 weeks ago. And yeah, one of my musical partners here in Bahia, Monica Salmazo, one of my favorite Brazilian singers, in the red shirt there. So yeah, my whole life is documented on Instagram. Thanks to Thalita Singer, my social media master, who's out there listening. Hi, Thalita.
Well, let's do this. Before we even get into the Brazilian side of music, tell us how you got started in music. Like, what drew you into music? What kind of musician are you?
I'm one of those people that I was like, I'll sing in the shower and that's fine. Because I was really shy. I'm still shy. I'm still not super comfortable on stage, but I so did not need to be in front of people to sing. I just enjoyed singing. And so I would lock myself in my room and sing. And
you would lock yourself in your room and sing?
Yeah, I didn't want anyone to see me. I just wanted to sing. So I don't think my mom heard me sing when I was a kid, and she made me get up, and bless her, she made me get up on stage. I had to do some talent show, and I sang a Diana Ross song, and I don't really remember because I was so scared. I felt like I was going to pass out. But at that point, she realized, oh, my daughter has a voice, and I grew up in LA. So I got a scout, and I started going on auditions and stuff, and it's kind of growing up in LA deal. But didn't book anything. And then I joined choir when I was in elementary and junior high. And I loved singing in choir because I didn't have to be out in front of anyone. I could just sit in the back. I was tall, so I was usually in the back row and I could sing, and I was having a great time.
Well, what part do you sing? I'm not a music person, so you're gonna have to speak to me in very simple layman's terms. Like, what genre of music would you say if someone said, "Hey, we need someone for X kind of concert," and I could say, "I know Alyssa, she sings
jazz."
Okay, that's a good way to do it.
Jazz. Yeah.
Can't go wrong with jazz, can
you? There's so much good stuff. But it's funny because I sing jazz kind of by default because it's what I enjoy singing, because the songs are so great and they're very challenging as well for the voice, which I like, you know. Melodically, harmonically, there's a lot that you can do vocally that you often don't have the space to do with pop music. And just the songs are so well written. They're so classic. I mean, you know, in the time when jazz was popular music, you had like these great composers that were composing for the great jazz singer. You had Gershwin. You had oh God, there we go, Cole Porter. You had Duke Ellington. You had like all these amazing composers. So it's just the jazz, American jazz standards is a body of music that you can just explore for your whole life. So yeah, so that's what draws me to jazz, and just the sound. You know, I started trying to imitate Ella Fitzgerald and Sarah Vaughan, and it was just fun.
Well, I would think that imitating Ella Fitzgerald is that's not a first time. That sounds difficult.
No, it's so fun. And it's such a great way to learn. I just learned everything by ear. I didn't start taking classes till I was grown up. I would just listen and just imitate them. You know, which is, I think, how people used to learn back in the day. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I would just think that as someone, I mean, Ella Fitzgerald's voice is, it seems rather, for someone who doesn't sing, it seems kind of like a extraordinarily difficult or iconic way to sing to start out.
It's something my voice does naturally, and I think that's why I ended up in jazz, because I don't sound pop, I don't sound R&B. When I open my voice, it comes out sounding a lot closer to Ella Fitzgerald than to Aretha. And so that was just a genre that was like, oh, okay, I can do this.
I had a couple of instances with people in Brazil. For example, I was in an Uber the other day, and the driver, he says, excuse me, do you mind the music? And I said, no, not at all. And he turns on just classic jazz, and we were listening to Modern Jazz Quartet. And I said, oh, you like jazz? He said, love jazz.
Oh, sweet.
We spent the entire ride, but now here's what's interesting. That's happened to me several times in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
That's wild.
Like,
well,
jazz
seems to be more of a jazz tradition.
Okay. It just seems like in casual conversation, if music comes up, it tends to be jazz.
That's so interesting. I think that's your vibe, though. You're attracting those drivers.
I don't know, but jazz, I was also told, though, that jazz was more of a, and correct me if I'm wrong, I hope I'm wrong, but I was told that jazz was rather elitist.
It absolutely is.
Really? Yeah. Because I didn't get a chance to do, why? Why?
It's not music that's really accessible to the population. I sang for 3 years in São Paulo at the Fazano. I don't know if you've ever been there. The Fazano in Jardins. It's like one of the top hotels in São Paulo.
I'll tell you why I've never been there. I avoid the Jardins area because it's kind of like a ghetto for pretentious foreigners. I like to live, I think I'm the only non-Brazilian in my building. I live in Bexiga, and it's just a neighborhood with regular people. But I find that Jardins is, I call it the expat bubble.
Yeah,
there are people who want to say they lived abroad while never having eaten the food or spoken the language. It's sick.
Yeah, exactly. It's also a neighborhood of the Brazilian elite.
Yeah.
And so you'll find in the elite neighborhoods or the bohemian neighborhoods in Sao Paulo is where you usually find the jazz places. They tend to be more expensive. And as you know, from living in Sao Paulo, you don't really see so many Black people in those neighborhoods.
Yeah.
In the Black neighborhoods, there isn't live jazz for the most part. You know, it's not played on the radio. It's not popular music. It didn't come to Brazil as popular music. It came to Brazil as, and you see this, anything that comes in from America, it kind of is automatically classified as elite. And so it's kind of how jazz started. I mean, jazz started in the US the way samba started here. And samba is not elite music, as you know.
Oh, well, look at that.
What?
When I said, how did you find us? She said, she pointed you the way.
Ah. Hey, Talita.
Well, hey, we got a couple of people watching right now, and I want to tell everybody the same thing. The best thing you can do, make sure you click the thumbs up button and click subscribe. We talk about Brazil, but we talk about a lot of things here on this channel, and I hope everybody enjoys it. This is how I get to meet a lot of amazing people. So everybody's watching, make sure you click subscribe and the bell and the thumbs up, because that matters. You know, share this on your Facebook, share this on your Instagram or something like that. Share this on your Twitter. But going back to jazz, now, jazz being something that's not accessible, how did your jazz transfer to Salvador?
It's not super accessible here either. It's less accessible. Well, let me take that back. The places where I sing here tend to be more elite. But Salvador is smaller, and it's a little bit more accessible when there are events that are open to the public. So there's starting to be more space for jazz. There's a small jazz community here. Some excellent jazz musicians, but there's just not as much. Salvador is kind of unique. Salvador it doesn't have as much space for non-popular music as Sao Paulo or Rio does. It just doesn't. But that's not why I'm here. I'm here just because I love being here. I'll fly down to Sao Paulo.
Well, no. You said it doesn't have space for non-popular music, meaning there's only a few different genres they listen to there?
Yeah, for the most part.
What do they listen to there?
Arrocha, which is, I'm sorry if there are any Arrocha fans, but it's a horrible style of music. That's very popular. There's some playing.
What does that mean? Now. You looked over your shoulder like you were scared somebody heard you.
No, it's on the street. Like, I live in a popular neighborhood as well. Kind of like, it's not really like the beach. Well, I guess it could be like the Bexiga by the beach. So what you hear on the street here is pretty much the popular music. So you'll hear pagode, you'll hear arrocha. Sometimes of year you'll hear forró. And then you'll hear, like, if there's during carnival, you'll hear street bands and things like that. But that's pretty much it. You know, there are places that have alternative music.
Salvador for carnival a couple of years back. It was great. Loved it.
Okay.
I loved carnival there. But okay, so here's the thing then. Well, first off, you said you get to live by the beach. Tell me where you live and how beautiful it is. Don't give us your address, but we were talking earlier about how good we have it. Describe your life.
You can find Itapuã on Google. Itapua. I am it's in the northern part of Salvador. It's really close to the airport, which was important for me because I travel a lot. And it's interesting. It was a whaling village. It's about 400 years old, this neighborhood. And Salvador is 500 years old. So at the time that Salvador was founded, this wasn't part of it. It was like a whaling village. Actually, at the time, it wasn't even a whaling village, I don't think. But
so this is where you live?
Yes.
I better not ever hear you complain about anything in life.
So it's a historical neighborhood in a lot of ways, but it didn't develop until maybe 100 years ago. So it's kind of like a little villa, and people would come out here for, vacation, get away in the summer. But there's some really famous people that kind of put Itapuã on the map culturally, like Vinícius de Moraes, who I think you've heard of, right? He wrote the lyrics to Girl from Ipanema and a lot of other really famous Tom Jobim songs. So this was like his spot. This is his hangout spot. Dorival Caymmi, who actually played guitar with Carmen Miranda, and he's one of Brazil's most popular composers. So this was like his hangout. He was a fisherman, and there's a lot of fishermen colonies here because we're right by the sea. So this was like his stomping grounds. And then, see, Vinícius de Moraes. There's another Toquinho was a famous composer from the Bossa Nova era who wrote a song called A Tarde na Itapuã. It's famous. Like you ask any Brazilian and they know that song. So we have several claims to fame, our little neighborhood.
It's a fishing village, meaning just every day they can go out and grab fresh fish for you.
Kind of. Well, it's not a village anymore because the city's grown up. Salvador has 3.5 million people, and so that whole urban sprawl thing, it's no longer kind of separate. But people, like my neighbors next door, there's a family that lives next door who's been here like 90 years, and they were like, "Oh no, this used to be all sand dunes, and no one used to come out here. It would take all day to get out here." And their parents
came to it.
The city came to it, yeah. But we still have a lot of fishermen colonies, which are basically like if you go out to the beach, you just walk along the beach, you'll come across like some kind of houses and you'll see a bunch of boats kind of parked on the beach or out in the water. And those are the fishermen colonies. And all along the coast of Salvador, if you go, like pretty much every neighborhood had a fisherman colony because anyone who lived out by the beach was a fisherman. There was no reason really to live by the beach 400 years ago unless you were fishing. So there were fishermen colonies that grew up. And I have a couple of friends who grew up in the neighborhoods have now transformed, but I have a couple of friends who grew up in these neighborhoods and their parents were fishermen. And so they would hang. So pretty much every neighborhood has a fisherman colony establishment. And you can go get fresh fish.
That's the life. Just wake up, grab some fruit for lunch, go grab an entire fish because why not?
I should see if I have a picture. Actually, on Facebook, I have a picture of the fish I got from the fisherman's colony for my birthday last year.
I'll have to check that out.
It was a 10-pound red snapper. Just come in that morning. Serious. If I find it on Facebook, I'll send it to you.
A 10-pound red snapper. It
was a monster.
That sounds like dinner. That sounds like dinner.
It was dinner for several people. Do you know what moqueca is?
Yeah, I don't eat moqueca because of a food allergy, but I know what it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll let the shellfish.
He turned into a moqueca that was fabulous. So.
Wow. Wow.
I'm trying to get a picture so you can post it. It's crazy.
I'll look for it as well. Well, when we talked about Brazil and the musical traditions, you and I actually were talking about a video you posted earlier, and I'm going to make sure everybody gets the chance to link to that. I'm going to show them the video. Okay. You just posted about a video series.
Yes.
Tell us about that video series because you made an interesting connection that I really want you to share.
Okay, so I'm gonna backtrack a little bit to last year, so that it'll make sense why I did the video. So about a year ago, I started something called Finding My Voice, which was so in Sao Paulo, I sang in jazz bars and festivals and stuff doing covers, and everyone kind of starts off doing that unless you're a songwriter. But there's a point where it's like, okay, so am I going to do this the rest of my life, or am I going to develop as an artist? And I said, you know what, I want to be an artist. I want to be one of those people where, okay, it's about to get loud outside. It's a popular neighborhood. So. Hold on one second. Can you hear that?
I can't make out the word.
Tapioca, pamonha. Carimã, tapioca, lele, pamonha. It's a street vendor. They're selling traditional foods. Lele, tapioca, which you guys call beiju, I think? Or no, do you guys call it tapioca?
Well, no, we don't call it beiju. We call it tapioca, which is different from the tapioca in America. Tapioca in Brazil is a flour-like mixture that you don't mix with anything. You put it raw on in a frying pan, and it cooks into a, how would you describe it?
Kind of like a pancake.
You know
what it's made of? Do you know what it's made of?
Into a layer, and in that layer, you can put everything from chicken or tuna to bananas and. Hold on a second. Let me show these guys.
I'm gonna look for that big fish.
Here we go. I bought one of these earlier at the fair.
Uh-huh.
So how many small plates would you get out of this?
Oh gosh. You can get a lot out of that.
Yeah. You sprinkle it down on the iron, and when you sprinkle it down, when it heats up, it naturally congeals into, the best way to describe it would be a thin, grainy kind of pancake. And from there, you go with whatever you want. So if it's lunchtime, throw some tuna in there, maybe throw some onions. If it's just you want a snack, chop up a banana, chop up strawberries, maybe take a little condensed milk and put it in there. Some people put a little bit of chocolate in there, fold it over, and there you go.
Mm-hmm. You know what it's made of?
If I'm not mistaken, it's manjo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, manjo. It's in the potato family, but it's not a potato.
So anyone who's well, in the Caribbean, I think they call it cassava, right? They have cassava in the Caribbean.
I don't know if cassava is the same thing.
It's the same thing. Mm-hmm.
We'll have to look that up. But so you were going back in time.
Yes, so going back in time. So I started something called Finding My Voice, which was literally like, okay, what's my voice if I'm going to be an artist? What am I going to sound like? Because people were starting to say, oh, you know, that American girl that sings at Fasano. And I'm like, nah, I don't want to be the American girl that sings at Fasano. I want to be, hey, this music sounds like Elisa Sanders. So I said, so how am I going to find out what my voice is? You know, I don't want to sound like, I don't want to be like, oh, she sounds like, no, I want to sound like me. And where am I going to find that? And my thing outside of music has always been travel. Like that's where I come alive. And I think you and I have this in common, you know, that's where like I find myself out in the world. And so I said, all right, well, I think I need to put together music and travel, and somewhere in putting together those two, I'm going to find my voice. So there is an artist who's kind of like I guess kind of like an idol, kind of like a mentor, sort of, named Idan Rahel. I don't know how much world music you're into, but anyway,
I'm sorry, I was going to say the world music to you and I'm not quite sure if it's going to be the same thing. When I hear world music, let me see. I'll date myself. When I think world music, I think Trans Global Underground.
Oh, I'm not sure who they are.
Like things like that. When you say world music, what do you mean?
Well, that way that the U.S. kind of and Europe classify anything that's not American or Western European or
yeah,
or you know. So he's from Israel, but what's unique about his music is because Israel and especially Tel Aviv is a real melting pot because there are Jewish people throughout their diasporas throughout the world. It's a place where there's music from everywhere because there's people from everywhere. And so what he did is he said, okay, I'm going to create a band and it's Israeli music because we're all living here in Israel, but it has elements of all these different people who've come here to live. And at the time he was working with a lot of Ethiopians who were being really discriminated against because there were huge airlifts of Ethiopians that came to Israel in the 80s and 90s because they were being persecuted in Ethiopia and in other parts of Africa. And so they all came to Israel. So there was this huge flux of Ethiopians and there was a lot of discrimination. And so he was like, and he was into their music and culture. So he started incorporating Ethiopian music and artists in his work, and he blew up. He became like huge. And so it was this way where music was a vehicle for exposing people to this other culture, and people started becoming curious about it. And it started to kind of give them some visibility in the culture and a positive visibility. And so he continued this. He's worked with artists from 150 different countries. So his albums, there'll be songs in like maybe 5, 6, 7 different languages.
Wow.
And it's like, yeah, I can identify with that. That's what I want to do in my music. And so I got this idea, okay, well, then I need to go meet him and find out how he's doing what he's doing. So that became a year-long journey. I left Brazil last September, went to Ethiopia because I was able to get a cheap ticket through Ethiopia. And growing up in LA, everyone always thought I was Ethiopian. So I said, well, let me stop by Ethiopia. I like the food. Got there, stayed with a friend of mine who lived there, and just fell in love with the place. Just was like, and I really did look like people there. And I was just kind of blended in, which I like to go to places where I can kind of blend in, and just felt a real spiritual connection to Ethiopia in the same way I had to Brazil when I came here 20 some years ago. So I kind of checked that off. I was like, all right, I gotta come back here. Spent 3 weeks meeting musicians in Addis Ababa, which is the capital, jamming, going to different jam sessions. And one of the musicians I met during this time, his artist name is Hadinko. His name is Hadis. His name, Hadis, I'm not gonna say his last name correctly, Alemayu. He's in the video, he's tagged in the video, but he goes by the artistic name Hadinko. So he was one of the artists I met when I was there. And we just kind of saw each other maybe 3 or 4 times. But you know how you meet someone, you're just like, yeah, I kind of like that person's energy. I'd like to work with them. But I ended up leaving.
Do this then. When you say that video, maybe now would be a good time to let them see exactly what we're talking about, because I want them to definitely go check this out. I was kind of disappointed. The video is only like 18 minutes long.
There's more. It's only the first episode.
Can everybody see that? Can you see that?
I can see it, yeah.
I think that, well, here's the thing. That's how you keep people coming back there, isn't it? You make sure that you do just enough to keep them coming back, and then they do. So I want everybody to make it a point to go check that video out as well. I liked that there was a bit of a, what's the word? You gave everybody a little bit of everything to make sure they understood that it was about music. The language wasn't a big deal because you made sure everybody could understand what was being said. Mm-hmm. But I want to see more of that. And is he here now, or? No,
he's back in Ethiopia.
What city? Addis Ababa, which is the only one I know. So I'm going to try and flag it.
Yeah,
is that where he lives?
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us, like, when you were in Ethiopia, what cities did you visit? What was Ethiopia like?
So the first time I was there, when I met Hadis, I was just in Addis Ababa because I was there to do the music thing. So I stayed there and went to, jazz clubs and different cultural centers. The second time I went back in June, late May, June this year. And I went to Bahia, which is in the north. And Lake Tana is there. It's a 90-kilometer wide lake. Full of islands, and the islands have these really old monasteries on them. And it's also the mouth of the Blue Nile.
How big is it?
The lake, 90 kilometers.
How does that count as a lake if it's 90 kilometers?
Because it's inland. It's huge.
Jeez.
Yeah,
it's like you're living in a small ocean. So you were talking about. Go ahead.
Picture on my Facebook. I'll send you a link to. Let's see. People can see what I'm talking about. Let me just find it. See, I'm not real organized with my pictures on Facebook.
Oh, wait, hold on. It looks like. Let's see. Guess who that is? You just got a fan.
Oh, hi. Who are you? Where are you?
You know who that is.
Where is it? Hold on.
That's
hey,
Phil.
Baby. What's up, Phil? Hi, honey. I love you too. Hey. That's my boy. I haven't seen him in a long time.
Yeah, okay, he's good people. He's good people.
I'm trying to, let me see if I can get you to the pictures of Lake Tana. It's really gorgeous, some monasteries. Let's see what I got here.
Because, yeah, if I can pull it up on a screen, I'll be able to share it with everybody watching.
I'm just trying to figure out where I put it. Nope, it is on the regular Facebook page. Sorry, people. I'm kind of Facebook fluent, but like not quickly. It's like I eventually get there. Oh, here we go. Timeline. So if I go to,
Excuse me.
uh-huh.
Going back to what you said about these old monasteries, is that the one where I read that some of them had been carved into the rock?
Yes, that's what I want to show you. So that's actually a different place. That's Lalibela, and I did go there as well. Hold on, can you help me with something? Oh, crap. Sorry, I'm not probably supposed to say crap on this. I want to show you. Okay. So how do I get to like where it shows me by date on the timeline?
I don't know that you can search by date.
Oh, there we go. Okay, I got it. So I'm gonna go back to June so I can show you. So yeah, where those rock churches are is Lalibela. So I went there. And also Ethiopia has castles. There's so much we don't know about Ethiopia. They have castles and they were not built by Europeans. They were built by Ethiopians and they're 400 years old and they're amazing. They're amazing. And there's a whole complex in a city called Gondor. And this is all in the northern area of the city. And let me just click here and I will show you some. Da-da-da. Okay, there we go. If you go to Facebook around, nope. All right, I'm sorry, people.
Well, we'll check it out later. We can always add
it. I found it. I knew I had a whole post.
But what I was going to say is excuse me,
I'm sending it to you in WhatsApp.
Okay. In Ethiopia, what are some of the differences that you noticed with, and there are differences, but there are similarities, but what are some of the differences that you saw musically in Ethiopia and Brazil? And then I want to get into the musical traditions where they link, where they become family.
All right, so completely different. They have different skills, and this is one of the fun things. So, okay, so quickly, I met this musician in Ethiopia. I went to Israel. We're talking on WhatsApp about working together. And I said, look, I'm not coming back to Ethiopia, but I'm going to Brazil. Why don't you come to Brazil? Because I always invite people to come to Brazil. They never come. He actually came. So he was just here in February. And that's where I really started to learn more about Ethiopian music, because what we decided to do was let's teach each other about our musical traditions. And so they have a whole different scale. They don't even use the Western scale, which is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. They don't use the Western scale. They don't use Western modes. They have a pentatonic scale, which blues also has a pentatonic scale.
Wait. Whoa. Nope, you got to go back and speak English. What does pentatonic mean?
Okay, so pentatonic. So in our scale, which is a diatonic scale, there are 7 notes, right? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. And then do is the 8th note, but it's actually the 1st note. You know, like Sound of Music, do, a deer, a female deer, re, a golden drop of sun, me, a name I call myself. Okay. Those are the names of the notes. So, or C, B, A, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Yes? No?
Yes.
Sound familiar? So they don't have 7 notes in pentatonic scales. There are 5. So it means there are different intervals or different jumps between the notes. So in this might sound geeky, so in a diatonic scale, there's a certain amount of space between each note, because let's say your scale is here. This is C and this is C. And all your notes have to fall between my 2 hands, right?
Right.
You got to get 7 notes in there, because our scale has 7 notes. A pentatonic scale in the same range, there are only 5 notes. So there are different intervals or spaces between the note.
Wait, say that last part again. This is the part where you lose me.
So there are different intervals. The intervals are the spaces between the notes.
Right.
Right. So for our scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. That sounds regular, right? Okay, I'm going to post Tizita for you to hear, which is an Ethiopian scale. Let me see what I can find on YouTube.
Oh, you can't sing it?
No, I was learning it with Hadis, but it's really hard. So I'm going to play this for you on YouTube. It's a pentatonic scale, and you'll see it sounds very different.
Hey everybody, my name is Nadav.
Now, let's get an Ethiopian doing it. Hold on 1 second. There we go. Let's see what we come up with. All right. Oh, there's an ad. Sorry. Can you hear?
No.
Okay, they're gonna. All right, let's try another.
ሰላም እንዴት ናችሁ? አማርኛ የምጫወትበት
Do you hear that?
Yes, but that's
it sounds different than a Western scale, right?
yeah.
That it's because they were improvising there. What I'm going to have to do is I'll find something easier, but I can't do it while we're in the interview. If people are interested, I can post some stuff. I'll send you some stuff out. Because it was very interesting being someone, you know, as a Western singer, and Brazil uses Western scales. All Latin music does. To have someone come and be playing an instrument on another whole system, it was like they're speaking a whole different language. It was like, whoa, I don't even know how to.
They literally are speaking a different language.
Yes, they were. And so it's like there was a process, because we were like, oh, okay, so if we're going to play together, now he knew Western scales, but I didn't know his scales. So he had to teach me, because I couldn't dialogue with him with his music. So it was kind of like learning a new alphabet. So we would just be on the beach practicing scales, and there's actually a part of that in the video, in the web series, where it was just this thing of, okay, I'm going to dialogue with you, I got to learn the scales. And it was really
That just seems very difficult, because here's what ends up happening. It sounds like if that, and I don't want to hear it if it happened, because that sounds like a nightmare fuel, that it would sound like the songs would crash into each other.
Well, yeah, when I was trying to improvise, they absolutely would crash, but that's kind of normal. I mean, if you think about when a baby first starts walking, they fall a lot. And, you know, it would take a lot more study. We were together for 3 weeks working on music together. So that wasn't really quite enough time for me to become fluent in it. But I did learn Tizita scale, Anchoya scale. They have many different scales. They're all pentatonic. And at some point that I want to go back and study and learn it, and like really learn to walk in it, really learn, you know, become fluent in it. Then at that point, you can meld together, which is what he did, because he's fluent in both. So we created situations where he could hear Brazilian music, because he didn't know the melodies, he didn't know the harmonies, but he could identify the notes in the Western scale, and he can play his instrument, which is called a masinko. He can play that in Western scale because it's a one-stringed instrument. So he just needs to know the Western scale, and he just plays the notes. So once he got used to the music, then he was able to improvise and join in with people. And there's a couple of scenes coming up, especially, actually, there are a couple of scenes in this first series where you see him interacting with different musicians. And then in the last one, you see that he's like in the subway in Sao Paulo playing with a guy who's on the violin. I mean, it just, by the end of the trip, he was having all kinds of mashups with people and all different types. Samba on the street with Masinko, just amazing experiences.
So one string. It sounds like a relative of Berimbau.
No, I have one here. He left one here that like I could go get it. It's in a suitcase, but it's I have some posted on Instagram. I think it looks like a diamond. It's made out of a. You know what? Hold on, I can find that easily for
Okay.
you on Google.
Well, here's the thing. While you're going to get that, I'll tell everybody who's listening because we have a few more viewers. I want to say thanks to everybody that stopped by. You know, on the channel, I've committed to. Why are you still sitting there? I thought you were gonna go get the instrument.
Oh, I'm gonna send you pictures. Okay, I'm gonna send you a picture and then I'll go get the real one.
Why show me the picture if you're gonna go get it?
So people can look at the picture while I'm going to get it. It's gonna take a second. It's buried in a suitcase.
You got like 2 minutes. I'm flying in the background. But what I was going to say is thanks to everybody for taking time out of your Sunday to come check us out. This was a really interesting bit of culture I wanted to soak in. If you haven't noticed, if you go to my main part on YouTube, it says I'm definitely going to be on, I think, 2 p.m. I think I said 2 p.m. or 2 p.m. on Mondays and 10 p.m. on 10 p.m. on Thursdays. Because what I want to do is have a regular 2 days a week, and then during the week, of course, I'm going to pop in with some different things that I want to share with everybody. But those are definitely going to be the 2 days, 2 times rather, that I definitely can pop on and see you guys. Because 2 p.m. on Mondays and 8 p.m. on Thursdays Eastern Standard Time. That's when I'm definitely going to be on. But if you ever see any of your pop-ups that says I'm live, make it a point to drop in. I want to say thanks to everybody because this channel has been growing exponentially, and I'm glad. Oh, there she is. All right.
Yes, okay. People, I do not know how to play this.
Show us the goodies.
Oh, all right. So this is a Masinko. This instrument.
Turn it sideways.
Do it what?
Sideways. Turn sideways so we can see the whole thing. Yeah.
Masinko. So it's made out of goat skin and wood. There's a symbology to it. I don't really remember, but like, oh, I remember. It's a cross. Ethiopian is Orthodox Christian.
Okay.
So I was told by Hadinko, who was the owner of this, that there's the cross. If you can turn this way, see it's like a cross. So that's a symbol of Christianity. And then the bow is like a crescent.
Is the crescent for? Huh?
Ethiopian has, well, the crescent is like a symbol of Muslims.
You said that too low.
It's the crescent is like Islam.
Okay, so it's Christianity and Islam together.
Yeah, because Ethiopia's population is about 55% Orthodox Christian and 35% Muslim, and they live in peace. So it is a 1-string instrument. This is made out of horsetail. This is made out of goat skin. And so you regulate it here. Since it's just 1 string, it just plays 1 note at a time. And what you have to do is you have to use this, like you turn this to increase the tension here, and that changes the key. So the artist needs to know what key you're playing in so that he can make the right notes.
So there is no fast moving between.
You can't change keys. I mean, you can, but then you've got to change it here during the song. It's not like a piano can play in any key or a guitar can play in any key. This can too, but you have to know the key and then you have to set it with this. So you have to set it in the key first. Kind of like with harmonicas. Don't they have harmonicas that are different keys?
Yes. Yes.
And like saxophones and things. So how you do it, and forgive me any Masinko players out there because I have no technique, but the way you regulate is can you see me? So you create tension here.
I can't see the top. Oh, but I see your fingers, yeah.
See how my fingers moving there? So I create tension here, and that's going to change the notes. So this is going to sound really bad. Here's how it sounds. Can you hear that? Okay. I'm not even sure this is going to work because this has been a suitcase for a little while, but let's see if it changes the key. Did you hear that change?
Yes. Well, listen, I don't want to offend our ancestors, so you can stop playing.
I know. But I just want to hear people to see how the key changes depending on where I put the tension. And that's how this works. And you can play pretty much anything with this. This instrument itself is not 3,000 years old, but the instrument is 3,000 years old. Like
if that was 3,000 years old and you were just casually flipping around in your hand, I would be kind of upset.
This one is not but it has a 3,000 year history in Ethiopia. You can also find things similar to the Masinko in some other countries like Senegal, but in Ethiopia, this has 3,000 years of history. And I was told that the more modern instruments like violins, cellos, this is the granddaddy. Comes from an African instrument, which is pretty cool.
Now, I saw you playing another instrument. I forget what it's called, but it's like a finger piano.
Oh, yeah. That we call a kalimba here. And those
go get yours?
Where is it?
Oh, come on. I thought you were prepared for this. You knew we were going to talk about music and instruments, and you decided not to have them handy. You're a musician. If I asked you to bake a cake online, then I could see you being not ready, but you're a musician with instruments in your house.
You know I was going to have to play music. There we go. Kalimba. This isn't a professional one, but this is the one. This is the kalimba that appears in the video series. Kind of use this to play on the beach because this actually, we could play notes of the Ethiopian scales on this.
Huh.
Nice, huh?
I wonder what like an orchestra though would sound like.
Oh, it'd sound amazing. I'm sure.
Because that sounds a very calming sound.
It is. It really is. We would go to the beach in the mornings and bring this and a Masinko and just kind of do like sound meditations. You know?
Yeah, I could see that being in the morning, having some tea, you know, and if I were a rich man, just living in a maybe having a nice place in Ethiopia and have musicians come by on Fridays when my friends and I would have a lunch and just have them play for us. And
right? I can set that up.
That's good. The question is, could I afford it?
Of course you could. Ethiopia is cheaper than here.
Really? You know, I've been leading the life of I don't like to say digital nomad because it's such a broken phrase, but for my career, for people who don't know, I always tell everybody this every time I'm on. I'm not a YouTuber. I don't get a YouTube check. If they want to send me one, I'm happy with it. But I do editing, copy editing, proofreading. A lot of my income comes from writing resumes, rewriting, for example, editing books and documents that need to be done in university level English. And I tell people all the time, everyone is welcome to contact me on my professional side, which is my LinkedIn. I'm the same person everywhere, same name. And I tell everybody to make sure that when they find me here, skip my resume. Look at the resume second. I always say the first thing you should look at for me and anybody else, go straight to their referrals, go straight to their endorsements, look at what other professionals say about them, because this is where I take pride in. I have a bevy of people who are respected professionals who work with me, who can vouch for my professionalism and credibility. And that's what I tell people to look at first. So if I can help anybody professionally, that's great. Even if I can't, feel free to share this. Feel free to join me there as well.
Very cool. Good to know.
So have you,
music.
Say again? Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Soundtrack.
Quick question. In Ethiopia, what was the coffee culture like?
Oh my God, that was pretty cool. Well, coffee comes from Ethiopia.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. Like, if you're drinking coffee, no matter where in the world you're drinking it, it came from Ethiopia.
From Ethiopia. And I was invited to a coffee ceremony at this same musician's house that his mother performs, that she taught me. I've got some cool pictures of that too, actually. Ooh, I could send you one of those.
Well, let's not go through the finding picture game.
I know, that one's pretty easy to find. But they take the beans green. And the thing is, like how we drink coffee here to like just wake up, it's not like that there. It's like when there's a time you want to get together with the family or tell someone something special or just kind of create a special moment, people will have a coffee ceremony to honor a guest or something like this. And it takes about an hour.
Wow.
And you choose the grains of coffee that you want to roast. And then over a charcoal fire in a metal pan, you roast the individual beans until, we just see them when they're brown. They're actually green. And you roast them over the fire and they release an oil. And you roast them until they're done. And then we took them outside with a mortar and pestle and smashed them and and made it into the powder. And then you heat up the coffee and they have this beautiful, I gotta send you this because I just think these pictures are so beautiful. They have like, it's like a ceramic coffee pot, and I'll show you here my pictures.
So one of the things that got me about food culture outside of America and outside of a lot of Western cultures is food and drink has a higher function than just putting something in your gut. For instance, when I was in China, I became more of a tea person than a coffee person. I try to drink more tea than coffee any day of the week because I find tea is when you want to have a humane, civil conversation in the day. Coffee makes you want to strangle the opposition and pillage. And in Brazil, I'm going to have to do a little video. I might have to record something on my phone when I had to try to figure out why Brazilian coffee came in such small cups. Because if anybody sees me drinking coffee out of something like this or my tea, if I have coffee, it's like 50% strength of Brazilian coffee. Like it's watered down.
The Ethiopian coffee, they also drink in small cups. I just sent you 2 pictures on WhatsApp because it's very strong. So that the first time you boil it, the coffee in the water, and then you don't really filter it. There's a way that you pour it so that it kind of filters as you're pouring. I think, is that one of the pictures? I may have that picture. But so it's very strong. And then once you finish that round and you serve it in you'll see in the picture, in these small cups with treats, with popcorn and like sweets or something. And then you fill up the pot again and you brew another round and then you brew a third round. And that's the coffee ceremony. And you sit around that little table that's in the second picture and you enjoy the coffee with your friends. And I think can you see the pot there? Oh no, that's not the pot. It's on the ground. It's really beautiful. Yeah, that's not the one we cooked it in. I'll show you.
Question: do women wrap their hair as a matter of tradition, or as a matter of rule, or?
No, that was me, and my hair was in shock because it's used to Brazil's humidity, and it's not humid in Ethiopia, and I just come from Israel as well. So yeah, you see women wrap. I don't know if you can see the other woman in the picture, how her head is wrapped. The Orthodox women, they will cover their heads kind of like Muslim women do. And also other Orthodox Christian women, like in Europe, they'll cover their heads.
One of the things I learned in Brazil with my friends who are from all kinds of different countries in Africa as well as Brazil is they said that it's awkward for them sometimes because while they love and appreciate women from around the world enjoying the designs that they wear and the hair wraps that they wear, they kind of chuckle sometimes because they realize that most people are completely oblivious that your hair wrap, the way you wear it, the colors and the designs are all clear indication of who you are and where you're from. And a lot of people don't catch those small details. And so until you talk to someone and realize, okay, we're from America. For them, it's a decoration. Hey, have fun. I hope you like it. I knew a woman who was in an interesting situation. I have 2 women. I'll give you 2 short stories. One was in a situation where she went to a street vendor and saw a bolt of fabric. And she said, wow, this bolt of fabric would make a really nice hair wrap. She goes to the lady and says, how much for a yard? And the lady looks at her She looks at the fabric, and she just cuts it off and gives it to her. And she said, wow, well, thank you. I'll bring all my friends back. We're all going to shop here. So she gets home. One of the women that she knew who was local, she says, oh, my goodness, this lady just gave it to me. We're all going to go shop there. I want to thank her. Come by, check out what I got. And she was like, oh, show it to me. She showed it to her. Her friend goes, do you know what that means? She said, no, I just know the lady looked at me and looked at the fabric and gave it back. She said, the lady gave it to you out of pity for such a young woman who was recently widowed.
How'd she know she was widowed?
Because you don't wear that particular pattern unless you're a widow. And you're a 25-year-old woman, and she looked at you, and in our culture, she's like, such a young woman to have such a tragedy of her husband dying. Let me give this to you. I'm sorry for your grief.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
So they had to go back down there and hug it out and explain, I'm sorry, my friend is just an American. And they laughed about it and bought a bunch of other stuff from the lady, but it was, you know, and another one was a woman who, what was it? She wrapped her hair with a particular color and design, which was considered obscene and scandalous for a married woman because that's what a young woman who is looking for a husband would wear.
Whoa, wow.
To her, it was just a color pattern. They were like, that is so disrespectful to your family.
Wow.
You had no idea. It's like, that's why you have to find someone who lives where you are. So if people notice, I don't wear words in languages I can't speak, and I'm only barely speaking Portuguese. So guess what? You know, the same thing happened in Japan. My Japanese friend said they would laugh all the time at stupid Americans who would get Japanese words that meant absolutely not what they thought it did in the right context.
Exactly. Well, you see that here all the time. I don't know if you noticed people wearing shirts in English or things that are even advertising in English. That's like, that's not what you think it means.
Yeah. And you know, the Japanese did it too, but they said that they find Americans do it more because we just don't know any better. And we're completely, it's hilarious.
Brazilians do it a lot too. I've noticed a lot here.
Maybe I just haven't seen it as much. You know, maybe I just haven't seen it as much as you have. Where you live, what is the fashion and culture like there? Because I mean, and I'm happy to talk about music, but I haven't been there for more than a few days, and I'm thinking about maybe taking a trip.
Okay. Well, it's hot here most of the time, so people tend to wear less clothes. We wear more colors than in Sao Paulo. Like, you don't really see people walking around in black here like you do in Sao Paulo.
Okay.
Baiana's light color. They might not coordinate as well as people do in Sao Paulo, but it kind of might look more like African that way, where you'll have like, you know, different patterns together and different colors that, you know, to like certain eyes would be clashing, but they're just like, yo, I just like these colors. And I
like this red shirt looked awesome.
Yeah, this is rocket.
Scarlet pants.
People are culturally, it's to me a little bit more open. I was just in Sao Paulo, and it was funny because I forgot how Sao Paulo is a little bit more closed, which it might not feel that way to Americans, but to someone who's been in Brazil for so long, and my reference is Salvador, I'll give you an example. If I walk to the bus stop here, someone's going to talk to me. Not someone I know, just some human being's going to talk to me because I'm a human being on the bus stop, and we're going to strike up a conversation. They're probably going to put their hand on my shoulder or something. I was just at a samba just before I came back to get online with you. I knew one person there, but they were like, here, come sit at the table. You want some beer? All of a sudden, all these people showed up. Everyone's hugging each other. People, when they talk, they touch each other. So it's a very, you know, it's tropical, it's warm, it's very open. People, especially in Salvador, and especially where I live, they might go to the market in a bikini top and shorts and flip-flops, and that's just, it's hot. So that's how people walk around.
Wow.
I mean, it's pretty casual. If you go into parts of town where it's, you know, more commercial, then, you know, I don't ever see people in suits because it's just too hot. There might be somewhere, but yeah, men wear more colors here. Men are cozy. And Bahianos love to smell good. They take lots of baths. So
You know,
especially,
it's definitely a minimum a 2-shower minimum here.
yeah. Bahia, it's 3 in summer.
Well, yeah, but what's the temperature like up there? I mean, here it gets hot, but up there I've been told it's absolutely scorching.
We get a little hotter, but we're more humid, so it feels hotter. So it's like you're gonna have a bath when you get up, and then if you go out, I don't know, say you go out for a few hours, when you come home, you're gonna need another bath, and then if you're gonna go out at night, you're gonna need a bath, and then I like to take a bath before I go to sleep at night. So yeah, you can easily take 4 showers a day here, and people like to use very nice, good smelling things. Bahianos love scents. So scented soaps, scented lotions, scented hair cream. So, even though people are sweaty, especially if it's in the morning, you get on the bus, everyone smells really good. And there's a lot of close proximity. People are like right up on you, especially on the bus. It's crowded. You're like shoulder to shoulder, all smushed in there together. So it's fortunate that people like to take baths.
The last thing I want to do, and I don't know whether or not you had a chance to watch it, I did a conversation the other day. Let me show you guys. There's a video here called, Brazilian Maid Service. That was an interesting video because there were some Americans who really took umbrage with, like, yes, I have a house cleaner. And it was an awkward thing for them, not me, because I was like, why would I not have something I can afford that leverages my time better? And it was just a weird situation for them. I didn't bother me. I've lived enough to know I should do what I want, but it was awkward for them. We realized you had people talking who'd never left home and couldn't have such things even if they did. But the cost of living expenses, I often compare Sao Paulo to a lot of American places, and I hope everybody gets a chance to go back and look at both of these. I often go back and compare Brazil to American places, but I'm going to show you something. This is an expense report I wrote on Sao Paulo, Brazil, and I just kind of like to get your temperature on the cost of living there versus Sao Paulo, so we can get a very real time, a very real time comparison, if that's okay.
Sure.
So watch this. Check out your screen.
Okay.
Let's see. My rent. I've got a 30 square meter, 322 square foot apartment. I pay 1,400 real for it. What's that like where you are?
My whole house is 1,200 reais, and I have a 2-bedroom house. I don't know if you can see.
You have a 2-bedroom house on the beach, and you're paying 200 real less. That's 5 times bigger than my apartment.
I don't know if it's 5 times bigger.
Okay, 4 times bigger.
Maybe 3 or 4 times bigger yet.
Wow. Well, do you have house service? Do you have someone that comes and cleans for you?
I have someone come twice a month.
Okay, what does that run you?
It's 120. Yes.
Per visit?
Your food is cheap. It just went up nationally.
So wait. It's 120 per visit, right?
Yeah.
So that's still your cell phone bill.
Oh no! Wait, you have it in $70. So yours is $280 a month. Does she come once a week?
Every other week, approximately.
Every other week. Okay, so it's a little higher in São Paulo. My cell phone, I pay 54 reais a month.
Now, do you have the full exotic
Don't
all
need
the
it.
data?
I have 7 gigabytes and unlimited calls, I think. And unlimited WhatsApp, and I have one of those control plans. So.
Gotcha. Well, now here's where it really comes down, because I train in weightlifting, Brazilian jiu-jitsu when I have the time. I eat a lot. Now this is where I hit myself in the wallet pretty hard. I'm probably buying 200 real worth of vegetables a month, and that's going to be giving me, let's call it 2 packages of strawberries, 24 bananas, 20 or 30 oranges spread out throughout the month, a couple of mangoes, a couple of pieces of pineapple. I'm guessing that fruit there is drastically different in price.
Depends on the fruit. There's some fruits that we can't get here or that are really expensive here because they come from Sao Paulo. So much of our fruit and food comes from Sao Paulo.
Okay.
Which is kind of strange if you think about it. It's something that doesn't really happen as much in the US, but Sao Paulo is kind of the hub of Brazil, so that most things will come into Sao Paulo and then from there go back out to the other states. So even sometimes produce from Bahia will go to Sao Paulo and then come back up here. Not all of it, but some of it.
Huh.
Yeah. So things that are grown locally, like papaya, certain mangoes we don't get here, but like rose mango, espada, like sword. I don't even know how it's that like that mango they have in
now here's where we're going to get into a cultural difference. Ready?
Yes.
Most of the people who are from the United States, you may have forgotten, don't even know how many different types of mangoes there are. I got to Brazil. I went to the market to buy some bananas. The guy said, "What kind of banana do you want?" I said, "What do you want?" And he's like, I thought the 3 tables were all one kind of banana. He looked at me like I was out of my mind. He was like, "Do you want this kind, that 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 kind, or that kind over there, or the kind we got hung up here?" All taste different, all have totally different functions.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I had to find out the banana I'm going to put in my shake in the morning for breakfast. Totally different from the banana that you might want to fry to put with your fish at night.
Right. Yeah. That's totally different. There, when I first moved here, we actually had more variation of fruits and like the local fruits. We have less now. We were talking about that the other day. The bananas that you find in the store, pretty much nowadays, are banana prata.
Prata or ouro?
I'm sorry.
Ouro?
No, it's called banana prata.
No, but do you also have ouro?
No, we have banana prata. We have sometimes banana nanica, which is called banana da agua, and that's the kind of banana we have in the U.S. But that's not as common here.
Right.
But we used to have a huge variation of bananas when I first got here. Banana maçã. There's a little tiny banana. I don't remember the name of it. Mangoes also. There was more variation of mango when I first came here. But then there were things you couldn't get, like apples were really rare. Pears, plums, forget it. Strawberries.
I wonder if it was because the heat would just tear through them so fast.
No, I think it's because I think it had to do with production. Like people, I think there was maybe less production of those things when I first came here. Because there wasn't a real big market for exotic fruits like strawberries, blueberries. They were just too expensive. People couldn't afford them. So you could get them in Sao Paulo, but even in Sao Paulo, they were expensive. Up here, it was like there was this one store called Perini, which was kind of a high-end market. They would ship that stuff in from Sao Paulo, and it would be hugely expensive. Like strawberries might be maybe the equivalent of like $10 a basket. No one's gonna buy that. So there's more availability, but I think the variations are different and I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why there would need to be like some Brazilian agricultural specialist.
So is it a meat culture or more of a fish culture?
I'm mostly vegetarian, so people eat a lot of fish. Like Fridays is usually fish day. We have on Fridays, we'll have a comida baiana, which is any restaurant you go to, they'll have an option of moqueca, which is a fish stew with red palm oil and coconut milk. They'll have vatapá, caruru, xinxin de galinha.
Is catfish, correct?
Caruru is made from okra. And
but is there catfish in there?
No, there's shrimp in it. There's that dried red shrimp.
Okay.
They'll have acarajé or abará. They have feijão fradinho, which is black-eyed peas. These are all traditional Bahian foods, and all the traditional Bahian foods you can trace back to West Africa. There's indigenous influence as well, but you can find things like acarajé. They sell in West Africa. They call acará. So Nigeria, Ghana, you can find acará. It looks like a hush puppy, and they fry it in. It's a little bigger than a hush puppy, but they fry it in red palm oil, so it's kind of orange looking. And so when they came here, people would, because there were so many Nigerians that came to Bahia in I think it was the 19th century, the 18th and 19th century, and they would sell akara. And so they set up a little stand like they still have on the streets today, and they'd be frying their akara, and they'd say akara here, akara. And so the name it fused, and it's called akara now. But if you go to West Africa, you can find akara, and it's the exact same thing. Wow. So Fridays, usually people will have fish, and they'll have, like restaurants will have fish, and they'll have traditional Bahian food. But Baians eat a lot of meat too. Brazilians like meat. So.
Brazil's a meat
heavy country. They ate less because meat was more expensive. Meat has gotten more expensive. People ate a lot more vegetables when I first came here. And there was fast food, but McDonald's was mad expensive, so no one went to McDonald's. There was not a lot of fast food here.
So let me move to a couple other things. Like, just in a house that big, give me all your utilities. I mean, if I add up the gas, electricity, internet, Wi-Fi, are you under $200 a month?
200 US dollars?
Like $40 US.
I don't know, because I never think of it in dollars.
200 reais per month or less.
200 reais?
Yeah.
No, 200 reais is ridiculous. You mean just for utilities? Okay, right. So my landlord, in my rent is included internet and water. I don't have a gas bill because I have the gas canister that I use for cooking. Do you have gas that comes in through a line, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, most houses here don't have that. Most houses we have it's a big gas canister, like it's pretty big. And you buy that, and for me, because it's just me, that lasts about 6 months. It costs 70 reais.
Nice.
My electric bill was 60 reais this month, which is kind of high. It's not usually that high. And I have solar heating for my water, because usually the electric bill's high because of the heating the water, which I don't know if people know, but Brazil uses electricity to heat water, but here,
right. So there's never any hot water's going to run out. That's the beautiful part.
Well, here actually in summer you don't even need to heat the water because it's just hot. Just through the pipe. But I have a solar, it's solar heating for the water here. So my utilities are 60 reais a month because the landlords pay water. Gas, if you divide 70 reais by 6 months, so maybe it's 70 reais a month.
Nice. Do you go to a gym or anything out there?
Yeah, I just started going to a gym. That's one of my bigger expenses. That's 200 a month.
Now, what kind of 200 a month? What kind of gym do you go to?
I'm doing CrossFit, which is new. It's expensive.
Okay, well, if you come down to Sao Paulo, we'll do some traditional kettlebell action down here.
Traditional what action?
Kettlebell.
What's that?
Let me show you. Kettlebells are something that, well, let me put it to you this way. I'm prejudiced against CrossFit. Most of my friends that are into fitness or athletics will tell you that CrossFit essentially bastardized parts of all the different major athletic disciplines and gave you something that is none of any of them. And it's a very difficult thing to express, but I've seen too many people get hurt in CrossFit. I've seen too many people, because here, let me be clear. Good quality exercise is pretty boring.
Yes.
CrossFit, however, is not. It's designed to be exciting.
Yes. That's why I like it.
And so CrossFit has that advantage. The unfortunate part, let me show you here what kettlebells are. I'm sure they'll introduce them to you there, but they won't introduce you to any of the traditional forms of kettlebell that work. You see that? Oh, wait, there. You see that?
Oh, yeah, we use those. That's
yeah,
what that's called.
That.
Oh, kettlebell. Yeah. I'll tell my coach. He was wondering the name of that in English, and I said,
"That's not me. That's a friend of mine."
Okay.
So all in all, I mean, it just seems like the cost of living there is extraordinarily, not by a small margin, but by an enormous margin.
It depends. Rent is cheaper here, yes. Taxis are not. Taxis are more expensive.
What about Uber?
Uber I think it's more expensive because I used Uber when I was in Sao Paulo 2 weeks ago. I think it's more expensive here. It shouldn't be, because it should be the same per kilometer, but I feel like we go a shorter distance here and pay more money.
Sure.
So, but food, like well, it depends. Some foods are cheaper here, but some are more expensive. Like Sao Paulo has a lot more options for vegetarian food because it's more trendy there. I don't know if you eat vegan or vegetarian, but when I was just there 2 weeks ago, there's like this plethora of new vegan places. And some of them are really reasonably priced versus here, it's kind of a new thing. So it's much more expensive. I just spent, oh gosh, I spent like 70 reais for avocado toast, a brownie, and
Wait, what?
brownie, and yeah, avocado toast, a vegan brownie, and ice cream and spaghetti. Like it was.
That sounds like we just got robbed for that price.
It's new here. It's new, and it's a thing of the elite. It was in this elite neighborhood, and I was like, you know what? I had a meeting there. I was like, I just feel like eating, and it kind of reminded me of California because this sort of thing, vegan and vegetarian food is pretty common in California. Avocado toast, I'm pretty sure we invented. I was like, let me just have a back in California day. And yeah, when the bill came, it was like, woo.
Yeah, for people who are watching this, you're going to say, hold on, that entire meal cost her $17. But what we're trying to tell you is for what she ate, I could buy all the ingredients, hire the woman who sold me all the ingredients to prepare all the food, and it would cost less than that, and we would all eat lunch. Because here's the thing, I'm not a vegan or a vegetarian, but there are days when I just have meatless days. So I know what avocado toast is like. Avocados are one of my favorite foods.
Right. Well, I always, because people always ask me, well, what's the cost of that in dollar? And the thing is, if you're living here, and especially, I mean, it's one thing if you're an expat and you're living on dollars, but if you're living here and you're living on Brazilian money, that's not really the right question because you're not earning in dollars. So that's like you going to a restaurant in the States and paying $70 for spaghetti and avocado toast and brownies and ice cream, which that would be like a super high-end restaurant. You wouldn't pay that much for it in the US.
Right.
Well, your average person does not go eat at that place because your average person is going to go to a place where they can get a PF, you have PFs there in São Paulo. So meat, yeah, it's a prato feito. This is kind of like, so like a plate of food that you've got your beans, your rice, your meat. Here there'd be some spaghetti on there too, and maybe there's like couple of pieces of lettuce, and that's a salad. That's going to be 10 reais, and that's what your average person is going to eat. Your average person is not going to go pay $7. And in the U.S., you'll pay $10 for a plate of food for lunch. Yeah, that's reasonable.
Yeah.
So there's a spectrum. There's some things that can be very cheap here, and there are other things that are very expensive.
I think all in all, if you have a stable income that's based on, for example, the internet and not your local economy, Salvador is a great place to live. Now, me coming from, where was I before this? I was in Shanghai, China, and I've always lived in the biggest cities in the world, from Tokyo and Shanghai to London and all the other places. I'm used to the hustle and bustle. So for me, Sao Paulo, they're actually slower and more relaxed. But I'm told Salvador, I would bang my head against the wall at the speed with which people decided to do business.
Yeah.
That's something that a lot of foreign businessmen say. They go there and they'll say, oh, we're going to do this. All right, well, we're going to have our breakfast at 8:30. Then we'll all head to the office at 9. And then we will have our setup from 9 to 10:30. And then from 10:30 to 12, we'll execute and we'll be done by noon. Mm-hmm. And they're like, where's everyone?
Nope. It's not happening. In general, you don't want to plan to do more than 3 things in a day because it's just not going to happen. It took me 2 hours to get from my house to the center of town to go see a film with my friends. So, I could not really plan too many things because that 2 hours to get into town, and I'm in the same city. and in a movie, and it's time to go home.
Why did it take 2
I
hours?
was 6-hour traffic. We
I
got
guess I'm
traffic here.
privileged because I live near the center of Sao Paulo, so I can get anywhere in.
And we have public transportation. We have 2 metro lines that may or may not go to where you're going. So the traffic is bad. So, you've got to plan things around that accordingly. So sometimes people just won't even go certain places at certain times of day. It's like, nope. And then things are just slow. Where was I the other day where we were like, there was something we needed to get done. Oh, it was just the other day, and I was with another Baiano, and it was taking a long time. And we were like, well, it's a good thing we're not in a hurry. And we just kind of had a laugh about it because we're like, nothing happens fast here. It's like, it's a good thing we have, like an extra half hour, because that's how long it was going to. And it was something that would only take maybe 5 minutes.
So it sounds to me like that's where I'd want to go when maybe I want to be in that phase of life where I'm not the aggressive businessman guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a friend who he loves Sao Paulo, and he likes the pace of the city. And yeah, here is too slow for him. But for me, and I lived in Sao Paulo for 12 years, Sao Paulo was too fast. It stressed me out. So like,
really?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's just too much going on. So sometimes I just stay in the house. It's like there's 20 different things to do tonight. I can't even make a choice. I'm staying in.
And see, that's how I'm. Let me tell you something. I am right at home in that chaos, in that we got to get all this done now, and I'm going to get this done at the bank. Then I'm going to go downtown to the lawyer's office. Then I'm going to come back and sit down with the client. We're going to have coffee, and we're going to sign a big deal, and it's going to be awesome. Now,
it's not happening here. You'd just be frustrated.
Okay.
But
listen. On that note,
there's something for everyone.
When are you coming back to Sao Paulo so we can do this in person?
I will be there I get there the night of the 4th, and I'll be there through the 10th for a music conference called SIM. So we'll have to catch some shows because I'm going to be down there. It's, like these music conferences they have, like South by Southwest or.
Are you performing?
I'm not. I'm actually going there to meet booking agents and check out, it's a place where you go. It's a place where you would go as an artist to network, to make contacts.
And that's in the evenings, right?
It's in the day and the evenings. The shows are in the evenings, and in the day they have like conferences with, lectures and networking events and that sort of thing.
Here's what we'll do. The day before you come, you'll have your agenda. You tell me when we can get together and we'll have our coffee.
All right, I'll send you some links to some of the shows I'm going to. We can have coffee and then we'll do the show.
Cool. Well, listen, thank you.
Thank you.
I feel enlightened.
I'm going to ask you to plug my video. Can I do a little plug?
Definitely. But I feel like today I got cultured. I got learned on some things I didn't, and I really appreciate that.
Sure, my pleasure.
All right. You have a good night. And anything you want us to sign off at?
Yes, I wanna invite people to come watch my first web series. I kind of explained in the beginning what it's about, but basically wherever there is music is really about connecting people and cultures through music, because we're living in a world where we're so polarized, and the other is the enemy because they have a different religion, or they dress differently, or they speak differently. And what I found in my travels, and I bet you have found this as well, is music is something that really unites us. And wherever I've traveled, and over the past year, I was in Israel, United States, Brazil, and Ethiopia. And I found my tribe through music in all of those places. And we had different religions, we spoke different languages, but music was this thing that created a bridge between us. And so this series is really about how music can create bridges. The first 3 episodes are about the experience of this Ethiopian musician who came to Brazil. And then after that, all the trips that I take, I'll be going back to Africa. I'll be going, I don't know where, but wherever I go, I'll be meeting with musicians. I'll be recording our collaborations, and it will become this web series. So it's kind of like a lifelong project. And
wherever there is music, episode 1, I want everybody to make sure you go. Look, Alyssa Sanders.
Subscribe.
And
We've got a lot of content on there.
Yeah. On that note, I hope you have a great night.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me to participate.
Yeah. One of many. Let's see. So now,
do we have any? Who's watching? Can we see like?
Oh yeah. Well, who's watching now? We had just the people who said hello. Talita, Bridgepoint Phil, Uncle Ladrinius. We had people who were watching who didn't say hello, but that's normal. There are going to be a lot more. But I feel like that children's television show when they say, "Who do I see?" I see Alyssa.
All right.
But you know who they never saw? They never saw YusefWateef. I'm still hurt behind that. Bye.